Hola, bienvenidos al Ronline Report. Este hombre es el tercer más grande campeón físico-culturismo que nació en Cuba, Jorge Betancourt. I did that just to fuck with this guy. This is today's guest, somebody I've known for, good Lord.
30 years, man.
Almost 30 years. You know him probably from Betancourt Nutrition, the company that he started, but any of you guys who are a little bit older will remember this guy was one of the greatest teenage bodybuilders of all time. He came up in an era where it was incredibly difficult to become a pro. If he was around now, he would not only be a pro, he'd be a very top, either bodybuilding or classic physique. I think classic physique, this guy would have just kicked ass. Anyway, Jorge Betancourt, how are you, sir?
How you doing, Ron?
I'm doing great. I wore my Cuba shirt for you today. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Because George was actually born in Cuba, in like funny, crappy, fake Spanish intro, just like Sergio Oliva Brada. George was originally from Cuba, and I never got the whole story. I did. It's been so long I forgot. So you were born in Cuba, and how old were you when your family moved to Puerto Rico?
Actually, dude, you're going to be embarrassed with what I'm going to tell you now, because everybody thinks I was born in Cuba.
You weren't? You're actually Puerto Rican this whole time?
Yeah.
Were you lying all that time saying you were Cuban?
No, that was an article that came out in a magazine, and they call me the Cuban something.
Yeah.
But so my parents are Cuban.
Right.
And they moved it to Puerto Rico in 1957.
Oh wow, okay.
So genetically, I am Cuban.
Okay.
You know, my parents are ashamed that I tell everybody that I was born in Puerto Rico.
Well, you were. Wow. Well, let it be known for the record, I didn't write that article. I did not falsely identify you as in that way. Although I have made many mistakes in articles, but I didn't make that one. Okay. Well, you are Cuban. Your parents are from Cuba. Like my wife.
Everybody thinks I was born in Cuba, though.
You were born in Puerto Rico, so technically you're a Boricua, I guess. But
yeah.
I just had another Puerto Rican guy, Alexis Rivera, on last week on this show, the Ronline Report.
Yeah.
So
he's amazing.
I never got the whole story. You were on the, I knew you originally because I came to work for Luzwick and the American Sports Network TV production company in '91, and he had already been promoting you and putting on the show for a few years before that. So I missed out on a lot of that. I didn't do the interviews with you and all the shoots, so I don't really remember your early history. How did you become a bodybuilder? It must have been very, very young. In
Puerto Rico, it was common for people to store junk on the rooftops, because the rooftops to their homes were flat and their houses were built out of cement. So when I was a little kid, 6 years old, 5 years old or something, I remember my father going to the rooftop, and he had a pair of weights or something up there. Remember, I was very young. I can't, vividly, this is what I remember. Yeah. And I saw him a few times go up there and lift weights. And so that made an impact in me. And I've always thought that lifting weights was something like very manly, Yeah. And then one time, my father took me to the beach. I must have been at this point maybe 7 or 8. And I saw these two big guys. I don't know who they were, but they must have been probably like American wrestlers that had traveled to Puerto Rico to wrestle, right? Yeah. And they were in shorts, from what I remember vividly. Maybe they weren't that big, I don't know. But back then, to me, they looked like gorillas, and they had like long hair, and they were tall. I was a little boy, maybe 6, 7, and I thought, man, like, those two guys, like, who were they? What was that, Yeah. And then my father one time took me to watch the Pan America Games in Puerto Rico, the weightlifting championships.
Yeah. And
for some reason, then when I moved here to the U.S., I stumbled into a magazine at the age of 8 or 9, right next to my father's bed. Yeah. And it was a bodybuilding magazine, and I think it was Arnold. You know that great cover where he's doing
The
curls with
the arm blaster.
with the arm blaster. Oh my God. And it wasn't that it looked beautiful or anything. It was just like, but it was, what am I looking at here? What is this? You know, like this.
So your dad was buying bodybuilding magazines? Your dad was kind of interested in it? Must have been. Magazines at your house.
I was so young, you know, I was 8 years old.
Yeah. Huh.
And it was a great cover. And it just, you know, these things with veins. And I think Arnold in that cover had maybe long hair or something and veins on his neck. Yeah. And it just made visually, yeah. it was an impact that it made on vision. I'm very artistic. I've always drawn all my life characters. Yeah. My brother's a famous artist. Like my brother sells paintings now for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. He's in museums and stuff. My brother's, it's world renowned now. So we've always drawn. I actually used to, before I got into bodybuilding, I was a graffiti writer. And we had a graffiti crew and everything. So that's why, like, my labels, when I got into the Betancourt Nutrition, it was very easy for me to create a look and a brand, because I artistically, I was very good with that kind of stuff. And then that helped me build a physique. So I was able, besides the point that I was blessed with a small waist, and I had sweep, and I was blessed with, you know, with the genetics to lift. Right. Artistically, a lot of people don't know, I was able to look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, this is what is going to make you look prettier. You know, create the illusion of having wider shoulders. Yep. It's going to make your waist, even though you have a small waist, if you can make that waist look even smaller, do it. And it's going to make your sweeps look even bigger. So artistically, I had that going for me that none of my friends had. And so being blessed with the genetics and a small waist and the sweep to the legs and the shoulders and the pec, I was able to outperform everyone, because artistically I had the eye to look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm going to add a little bit more shoulders, and that's going to make my waist look even smaller. It's going to make my back appear bigger. I was able to do that. People, I had that.
Well, that's, you know, have you seen Kai Green's artwork?
Absolutely. I had that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few guys I've talked to, great, you know, a lot of really great bodybuilders who have that background, and you're right, that's what gives them a big advantage, is they can look at the body like an artist and really make it a sculpture in a way that most people really can't conceptualize. So
well, I completely had, and remember, back in the 80s, bodybuilding was an art. So to me, I was chiseling the body away, like Arnold used to say. You chisel the body away, not like today. You put a pile of shit together, and that's what you have. No, to me, bodybuilding was part of what I was doing in graffiti already and drawing as a little kid. The cartoon characters and the superheroes. That's what bodybuilding became to me.
So when did you actually start training with the idea of, I want to look like these guys, like Arnold and these guys with the amazing physiques? Well,
you know, my first experiment with weights, I think I was 12 years old, at a friend's backyard. Some guy, this friend of ours that was a cop, he was like 18 years old. He stood us against a wall, and he gave us a barbell, and he made us curl, but it was so exaggerated that I never lifted again after that, because we were so sore. You know, it was like, okay, do as much as you can, as many reps as you know, that kind of experience. And so we never lifted again after that. I think I was 11 or 12. And then when I was 14, my friend, who was more like, I guess, middle income class, his father gave him some dumbbells and a weight set. And in his backyard, we started experimenting at 13 and a half, I think, at 13 and a half or 14. Then he quit. And I couldn't go to his yard anymore. And then I was reading the magazines already. And in the magazines, I read a quote that said, okay, your first goal should be 3 months. You need to stick to this for 3 months. And then after that, you're going to see results. And then after those 3 months, if you could dedicate yourself to another 3 months, then that's when you're going to see your next set of results. So now you're at 6 months. And then after that, it's a year. So after he quit, I kept on doing push-ups and pull-ups in my house and sit-ups. So now I was at 6 months, not nonstop, and I saw the results. And I was 14 and a half years old, and I needed to get myself to a gym.
Right.
And my mom signed me up at a fitness center, and there I met some kid that was 16 years old, and we became best friends. And he started teaching me, and I met some powerlifters immediately. And they started teaching me powerlifting at 14 and a half.
Wow.
15 years old, and my first experience with weightlifting was powerlifting. I trained powerlifting for like a good 2 years.
Wow.
But I wanted to be a bodybuilder, and they hated bodybuilding.
Of course.
They were like, no, those guys, they wear bikinis, and it was back then. It was the powerlifters and the bodybuilders. Yeah. My first experience was powerlifting, and I used to go to the meets. I used to go watch the meets. And it was great. I used to, it was just amazing. That era when I was like, I used to walk to the gym when I was 14 and a half years old and 15. I used to walk, I think it was like an hour and a half to the gym. And then I used to train 3 to 4 hours and then walk an hour and a half back home.
Geez, you missed like 3 meals in that time.
No, you didn't eat. It was just, it was my spare time as a kid. Listen to this. I used to walk about an hour and a half to an hour 45 minutes to the gym, train 3 to 4 hours, and then walk back home. And then
dude, it's like
6 hours.
It's like all day.
Yeah, 6 hours. And then the powerlifters at the gym, they saw how serious I was walking to the gym. Yeah. And then one day they approached me and they go, you really like this stuff? And I was like, yeah, man, I love it. And they go, well, if you're really serious, be in front of your house at 4 o'clock, because we pass by your house every day to go to the gym, and we'll pay you.
Why didn't your parents give you a ride? What the hell?
Because they were working.
Okay.
So this was me after school.
All right. Could have given you 50 cents for the bus. Come on.
I don't know. So then, because I used it as my warm up. That was my excuse, my warm up.
That's a long warm up.
That's what I would read. That's what I would read in the magazines. You warm up. You take a walk and you warm up.
All right.
and then
the powerlifters started giving you rides.
And then so the first day I'm outside my house with a gym bag with my belt and my stuff. And they go, be there at 4, and we're just gonna beep, because I lived in an avenue. A lot of cars pass by my street. Yeah. And they're like, be ready, we're just gonna beep, we have no time. And I was there like 40 minutes before, sitting in front of my house, and sure enough, Albert and his brother, they beep in front of my house, and they picked me up, and that's when the powerlifting stuff started. And they started teaching me the whole powerlifting stuff.
See, I wouldn't think, looking at your bone structure, that you would have been really suited for powerlifting, because you have a perfect bone structure for bodybuilding, shitty bone structure for powerlifting, because those guys have like wrists and knees, like,
I wasn't, but that was just my experience. Yeah.
So when did someone say, you could win some bodybuilding shows? You need to jump into one of these.
So I trained there for like about a year and a half, maybe 2. I don't think it reached 2 years. I wanted to get out of the powerlifting stuff because I wanted to be a bodybuilder, because I would see that, because the bodybuilders is what picked up the chicks. Back then, you lifted weights for the chicks, Yeah. And I wanted to look good. And then Christmas came, and I told my mom, I want you to sign me up. The first Gold's Gym in Miami opened, like 5 blocks away from my house.
Wow.
And literally 5 blocks away from my house.
Wow.
The first Gold's Gym in Miami. And I told my mom, that's what I want for my Christmas present. And she signed me up. I was 15 years old, actually, 15. So my mom signed me up in Gold's Gym, and I don't know how I would get there. Either my friends would pick me up, or
5 blocks is nothing compared to the walks you used to do.
Yeah. You know what? It wasn't for my birthday. It was for Christmas. It wasn't. She bought it for. It was for Christmas. She bought me my Gold's Gym membership. I must have been like 15 and a half. So when I showed up in Gold's Gym, I was so young. I already had some muscle already. Yeah. So they had a few bodybuilders in Gold's Gym, and they started looking at me and they're like, you should compete. And I'm like, no, I don't want to compete because I got to get in a bikini. I was embarrassed, And then this guy Julio Del Rio and Eddie Nieves, who was Mr. Florida, both of them were Mr.
Julio. Yeah.
And they started talking me into it. Dude, you should compete. You should compete. You should compete. And I did a 3-week diet, 3 weeks.
Perfect.
And I did my first show, which was the Team Southern States at 16 years old.
And you won,
I had
right?
just turned 16. I won. Yeah, I won the most promising in my weight class. But back then, there were teenagers competing.
Dude.
Like in my class alone, there were 16 kids.
See, people, you got to explain this because people now don't understand it. You go to shows now and there's no teenagers or there's like one teenager. I remember going to shows in like the late 80s and teen classes would be, even when I was competing.
That was the end of the peak. And the end of teen. Before that, it was even better. In the early 80s, there was even more.
Yeah, guys back then would tell me there would be like 40, 50 kids in a class sometimes.
Correct.
Who can imagine that now?
Correct. I caught it at the end. Sean Ray's era and Eddie Robinson's, Shane DeMar's era, even early 83, 82, there were even more kids in bodybuilding, and I could tell you why there was more. You know, I definitely know the reason why. Kids don't want to take all the drugs that these guys take. They don't, kids, for example, you look at somebody that weighs 300 pounds, 280 pounds. Yeah. Kids don't want to get like that, and they look and they see how long it takes, and you do the math and go, okay, it's going to take me 30 years, 20 years to get there.
Yeah. And how much money is it going to cost me? What's it going to do to my health?
It's not worth it.
I mean, you were competing as a teen when the top bodybuilders, there was guys that were just, we had like Barry DeMay, Lee Labrada. There was a lot of guys that people wanted to look like. They didn't look like they were big blocks. Nothing against like Big Ramy or these guys like Rolly, but they look like they're going to explode. They don't really look human anymore. They look like a cartoon character.
Absolutely, they don't look human anymore, dude. Look, I'm going to talk to you as a businessman. I've been in, to me, thank God that they brought this classic physique back. But they ruined bodybuilding. Look, I'm going to talk to you one-on-one, whether you like it or not. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I'm going to give you my honest. To me, they destroyed bodybuilding. Yeah. They completely destroyed it. They destroyed it. Who wants to? If you're 14 years old, 15 years old, and you look and you see somebody that weighs 280 pounds, 5'8", and you do the math, it's humanly impossible to get there. Right. So you're not going to get so interested in the sport. And if you don't have the young kids coming up in the sport dies. Yeah. Yeah. It dies because you need that new young generation to be there to support the sport of bodybuilding. So now that they brought the classic physique, thank God they were able to bring that back. But it would have died. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty well in touch with all the hardcore community and the huge guys, and a lot of them get really mad. Like, these kids today are pussies, and they don't want to look like, they don't want to put the time in, the effort in. It's really not that. I mean, if I was a kid now, I don't think I'd even want to be a bodybuilder. Looking at all the other options, classic physique, I wouldn't do men's physique, but I mean, you get mad, you see who gets all the follows and all the fans, and it's the smaller guys with the little waist and the wide shoulders and the six-pack and the nice teeth and the nice hair. And the guys are like, shit, I want to look like that. They don't see Ramy and go, boy, I want to look like that guy. Yeah, well, we can't do it for the fans. We do it for the sport because we love it. Yeah. But if you're 14 years old and you open up a magazine and you see somebody that weighs 300 pounds at 5'7", and you start finding out about steroids and the insulin and the growth, and you go, okay, I got to do this for the next 25 years to maybe one day win a $60,000 salary. Yeah. Doesn't quite make sense. It doesn't add up. You can win $60,000 being a school teacher. So I got to jump ahead to your teenage career, which was pretty damn spectacular. 88, you started off, you won the Southern States lightweight teen division. Southern States, for people who don't know, was a huge show, huge, for many years. And the thing about it that made it more difficult was everybody from the Caribbean and from all the Latin American countries and islands in that area, they would all go over to the Southern States and Florida to compete. Correct. They'd get somebody's, their cousin's address in Miami to use for their NPC registration or whatever, but
That was a tough show, super high quality.
Yeah.
89, you won a show that only existed for 5 years, the NPC Teenage USA. A couple other guys.
You know, people forget about that show.
Well, because they only had it 5 times. 2 of the other winners were Victor Terra. Victor Terra, who, if you guys Google him, Victor Terra was a NABA Universe, AU America, all that. He was great, short guy. Franco Santoriello, pro, who was a Cybergenics kingpin. He won that. And then you won it. And you won it as a lightweight, and you beat Dennis Newman, the heavyweight, out for the overall.
No. Dennis Newman. Wait, hold on.
That's what it said, man.
No, Dennis Newman won the overall. By 1 point, he beat me.
Oh, damn, poor George.
Yeah. But you know who won? You know who won the light heavyweight was this black kid who went on to win the USA like 2 years later. God, he was amazing. What's his name?
There was a lot of great talent back then. Bo Matlock? No?
Yes.
Yeah, Bo Matlock from New Jersey, yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Remember when he won the USA like 2 years later? Oh my God!
I mean, people think we're like old grouchy people talking about how good the quality was back then, but they got to go back.
When Bo Matlock won the USA, he looked incredible. So Dennis Newman won the USA.
Okay, so then everybody knows the Teen Nationals. 1990, you won the overall as a middleweight there.
Correct.
So, like you said, other Teen National champions included Sean Ray, Gerard Dente, who now owns MHP and Muscle Meds.
Correct.
Branch Warren, Craig Richardson, Jason Hugh, and Cody Montgomery won it, I think, 18 years in a row. But, no, 3 times in a row. But, that's when...
Jay Cutler? No?
Yeah, Jay lost the overall to Branch. It was 93. Yeah, Branch beat him out.
Was Shane DeMora?
Shane DeMora, you're right. Shane was one of the youngest pros ever. I think he was 19 when he turned pro. And how old were you when you won the Teen Nationals?
18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I have a vague memory of an American Muscle profile on you. Did you quit high school or put it off for a few months to train for that show?
Yes, correct.
Oh,
correct.
Terrible example for our youth.
Terrible. But look, I knew somehow, some way, my weight training was I was gonna be successful somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how I made it, man, but I made it.
Yeah, well, you did okay. You ended up doing okay in life regardless of that. I'm sure you got your degree there.
Somehow, some way I did it.
So you won that at 18. So were you 19 when you did Southern States and won that the next year?
Yeah, when I was correct. So the year after I won the Teen Nationals, I couldn't compete anymore. See, it's not like this kid that you just mentioned that won the Teen Nationals 2 or 3 times.
Cody, yeah.
Right. So when I used to compete, you couldn't compete anymore as a teenager. They wouldn't allow you to compete.
Really?
Yeah. That was like a taboo.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a taboo. So I couldn't. Because you gotta let other kids compete.
Yeah. Cody, you're very greedy. Why did you do that, Cody? But okay.
No. So I think, honestly, my year when I competed in the Teen Nationals, I think after that, maybe in 1 or maybe 2 more years, it started going downhill. Teens started dying off little by little.
I mean,
I'm not saying that my year was the best or anything.
Well, I mean,
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it just started.
You were toward the end of the era for a few more years after you, where it was guys that went on to become pros mostly.
Yes.
And since then, in like the last 25 years, I think there's only been like three guys from Teen Nationals have turned pro out of all those years.
Oh, back then, remember, if you won the Teen Nationals or the Teen USA, you were supposed to turn pro somehow.
Right.
Because mostly everyone did after that.
I mean, you should have, but we'll get to that in a minute. But
so then I couldn't compete anymore as a teenager, and the Southern States was approaching the following year, and I was just going in hoping and praying that I could place in the top 5 in my weight class. I trained extremely hard. Actually, that year. My training wasn't any harder than the Teen Nationals. I think they were a Teen National that trained much harder, or it felt harder.
Yeah.
So I entered the show, and somehow I'm backstage. I asked my best friend Frankie. I go, Frankie, you think, what do you think? He goes, you're going to win your class. And I'm looking at him. He goes, yeah, you're going to win your class. I'm like, are you serious? He goes, yeah. And I won my class. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? So then the night show comes, and he tells me you're going to win the overall too.
You didn't believe him.
No. And freaking me, I won the overall on that show too, man. And it was crazy, man. It was crazy. It was 150 something competitors in that show.
Yeah, just to give people an idea, like I was saying, how good the quality was. A couple of years later, the overall winner at Southern States was Dexter Jackson. So.
Yeah. But I was in shape. You know what? I don't like to brag, and I don't like to give myself credit. But now when I look at the pictures, I was in shape in that show.
I mean, I don't ever remember seeing you anything close to out of shape in any of your shows. You were always in shape, from what I recall.
No, there was one show where I was out of shape, and that was when I made my comeback. Then I competed in the USA that I placed terribly, and my wife had given birth. Like I was in great shape like 6 weeks before, and then my wife gave birth like a month before, and I ended up looking like a crackhead. And that was like after 12 years of not competing.
Yeah,
but then I redeemed myself a year after that.
So you did this when you won the Southern States. You went to nationals that year, and that was no.
No, when I won
this is all from MuscleMemory.com. Come on, guys.
When I won the Southern States, oh yeah, you're right.
You did go to nationals.
Yeah, I went to the nationals.
That was the greatest NPC nationals of all time. The
heavyweight
class was like the Mr. Olympia. You remember Kevin Levrone, Ronnie Coleman, Flex Wheeler.
Yeah. Paul DeMille was there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Ciccarello, Edgar. It was literally Matt Mendenhall.
Edgar Fleischer.
Yeah. Bob Ciccarello. It was the top 10 was like the top 10 of Mr. Olympia these days, pretty much.
Yeah. But I didn't. I don't think I would have done much better. I didn't look good. I was burned out. I was dieting already for 24 weeks. I was a teenager. Yeah. I had never dieted more than 12 weeks. By that time came, I stayed on my diet. I was 18 weeks dieting. I was completely flat. Maybe I would have placed better. I think I got 9th place, I think. 9th? 12th?
According to the records I saw, you did not place, but who knows?
No, I did place.
I'm going by stuff I find online, which isn't always 100% accurate. But was that the last time you competed for a long time?
No. Then that was as a teenager, right? I believe I got 12th place on that show. Okay. So then the following year, I was training for the USA. I was 20 years old. And I was looking amazing. Now I'm getting older. I'm getting the hang of it. I'm training heavier. I'm putting more time into it. I'm feeling more confident. And I tore a pec.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Was it flat bench pressing?
What's that?
Doing a flat bench press?
Yeah, like everyone.
What does it say? That's usually the
so my goal was to try to be, at that time, the youngest pro during that time. Not the youngest pro ever, but during that time, I wanted to be like a super young pro. Right. So I tore a pec. And, dude, I was looking phenomenal. I got operated, and it came out perfect. So I go, okay. My goal was always to turn pro by the age of 21. If I didn't turn pro by the age of 21, I was going to get out of the sport.
God.
And create a life for myself. Why? Because I always wanted to be a businessman. I was taking advantage of being at home and my parents taking care of me during this time. Yeah. Okay, so that's why I was so good at bodybuilding, because I was able to put all my time and effort into bodybuilding, but I was also becoming a man and I wanted to grow up. My friends were getting married, they were going to college. I wasn't doing none of that. I was just being a bodybuilder. And I kind of felt like I was like, damn, I need to be doing other stuff. I want to grow up, you understand? And if I don't grow up now, if something happens in bodybuilding, I'm screwed if I don't make it, you understand? Right. And I was also afraid of, man, do I really want to go around traveling the world in a bikini? I kind of didn't. I don't know why. For me, I just saw it kind of weird. And the drugs. I didn't want to take drugs for the rest of my life. I got to address this now, because you're a good-looking young kid, and you appealed to a lot of the
you know, I'm not a homophobe. I have nothing against gay people at all. But you had a huge gay fan base. They loved. Was the attention unwanted? Did you get like a lot of letters and phone calls and offers that were really you weren't comfortable with?
I have nothing against gay people. I have two brothers that are gay. Both of my brothers are gay. They're older. Okay. So I'm the least homophobic. Right. But as a teenager, I don't know what it was, Ron. I don't know if it was just
you had cool hair.
It was just older people, older men trying to hit on a young boy.
Right.
And then when you get older and you realize that, you're like, dude, that's what a child predator.
Yeah.
So then that kind of turned me off a lot, because here I am, I'm 16 years old, 17 years old, 18, 19, and you have somebody who's 26, 30, 40, sending you letters, calling your home, a fan mail, sending you money for trips. I was completely against all of that, right?
Right.
But it scared the living pants out of me.
Yeah.
And then that started turning me off, because I didn't know anything else. I was a young boy. I didn't know anything about the sport. So I'm like, is this what bodybuilding is? So I didn't want to. It just scared the living pants out of me. And it kind of.
You were a kid.
I was a kid. And it kind of pushed me away from the sport too, though. Like that I would say 60% of that is what scared me away from the sport.
Yeah.
You know, so where we were at before we.
Well, you tore your pec. Everything you operated on, everything was fine.
So I was back up within 2 months after I tore my pec. So I told myself, okay, well, I'm 20. I could still turn pro before I'm 21. I'll train for next year's USA. And man, was I looking amazing! So I started training for the following year's USA. Yeah. I was going to compete against Dennis Newman again. So I wanted to beat him.
Yeah.
The only person that saw me was Urban Gill. He came to do a photo shoot down here for me. Those pictures were never published.
Wow.
And he goes, "You're going to beat Dennis." Now, would that have happened? I don't know. But he freaked out enough to tell me that. Like, he freaked out. He saw me, he freaked out. Probably would have not happened. But I would have probably won my weight class, guaranteed.
Huh. So that was 94 USA that Dennis won, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, right. So he didn't win that year. He probably won
93.
So
Cormier won in 93.
Okay, so that would have been okay.
Yeah.
So that would have been 93 for me then.
Yeah.
Okay, so
why weren't you in there? What happened? Why didn't you get into that show?
6 weeks before Hurricane Andrew came.
God.
And it blew the top off the gym.
Jeez.
And
now I remember.
It was just horrendous. You guys came down and filmed all of that.
Is your friend Alex Acevedo?
Alex, yes. You guys. I don't know if you stayed up in California, but I remember you guys sent a crew to film all of that. It's Hurricane Andrew. It was horrendous.
It's crazy.
Half of Florida was gone. You know, my best friend Frankie was living in the hospital for like 3 months. He lived in his home.
Yeah.
It was when I went to the gym, because I was still in that mental capacity of training. I went to the gym and the gym didn't have a roof. So I'm knocking on the door.
Let me in.
Yes, let me in. I'm training, and you know what? The owner opens the door and he lets me in to train one time.
Just once? You should let you every day.
No roof. But then I realized how crazy insane I was. I'm like, okay, this is serious. You know, I can't.
Yeah.
You know, I had to slow down.
So
I think I trained for like 5 days. I think I trained like for like 4 or 5 more days after that.
Okay.
A tree fell on top of my house.
Well, that's right. I remember now. We had the footage of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So pec tear, hurricane. Then what happened to you?
I was 21, and that was my final goal. I said, that's it. I'm becoming the drugs were starting to scare me, because at that time people were getting bigger and bigger. Like Dorian Yates was the new thing, and then insulin started coming into play, growth hormone, and I'm like, remember I'm a young kid during this time.
Yeah. And
I'm asking myself, do I need to do this for the rest of my life? Do I want to take? I still, to that point, I still hadn't taken growth hormone or insulin, right. But I knew that was the next step that I needed to do to continue with my career. Now, I experimented with growth hormone and insulin at a later time in my life. It's not as scary as it sounded back then.
Right.
But back then, as a kid, you you hear these things and you think, okay, I'm going to die if I take an injection of this.
Yeah. Well, this was still wasn't as widely used back then, so it was kind of scary because now everybody in the freaking bikini girls take growth hormone now.
Right. Right. And the insulin back then, the insulin was completely fresh. It was completely new. It was like, and then the growth hormone, I think back then used to cost like $2,000 per box, and or $3,000. And so I'm a kid. I couldn't afford that, so I'm going I'm kind of done, And I definitely didn't want to look. I definitely did not want to look like Dorian Yates. Nothing against them,
right?
But I was not going to take my body to that level.
Yeah. Now,
so there you go. Somebody my age with great potential and a pretty physique did not want to put his body to look like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how comfortable you are because people love this shit. If you want to tell me, you can. If you don't, just say pass. I'll go to the next question. But as a teenager back then, I imagine you were using very, very little compared to what gets used now. I mean, can you give me some idea of like what the amounts were? If it's okay, if not, just say pass.
No, listen. I've always been very open to that. I've never been afraid to share information. My older friends always told me when people ask you about steroids, you always tell them the truth because if not, you're gonna look stupid. You understand? If you if you look like a musclehead and you tell them you're natural, you're gonna look like an idiot.
Yeah.
So you don't push steroids on you don't push steroids on people. But if somebody asks you if you've ever taken or if you've taken steroids, you have to admit it because you're gonna look stupid. So and I'll tell you my first time, the first time I took steroids, I was I think 15 or 14 and a half in the 8th grade.
If I was your dad, I would have beat your ass, but go ahead.
DECA. But not to throw anyone under the bus, everybody that was competing with me in the teenage categories was doing the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about a cycle now.
Your first cycle was just DECA?
Yeah.
Oh God, what a horrible cycle. But I bet you did okay on it.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, what a shitty cycle, DECA only. Ugh.
Well, remember that's how you learn. I mean, you don't. I know. You have no clue. But so a typical cycle to compete back then.
Yeah.
Was probably like 400 milligrams of DECA, 200 milligrams of test, and maybe one oral. What would be an oral back then? Anavar?
And it depends on whether you're off season or pre-contest or whatever. But yeah, that's like a bikini girl cycle these days.
But because here's my analogy, and it's because back then we were afraid of the drugs, so we counted more on the weight training and the food, and then the drugs was like, okay, we're scared of it. Let's just take very little, right? Now it completely changed. Now we know we've been taking drugs for by the bodybuilding world. We've been taking drugs for 50 years already. We know we're not going to die. Right? We know that already. Because before we were afraid we were going to die. Right. So now we could take 5,000 milligrams, so we could train a lot less.
Yep.
And that's what is trend. That's what's happened now. We know we're not going to die, but back then we were completely paranoid of dying. So you would take a lot less steroids and you would train a lot harder. Now, how high did I get back then?
Sure.
I think like 400 milligrams of test, 400 milligrams of DECA, equipoise, like I forgot how, like maybe 200 milligrams of equipoise,
wow,
and one oral, and that's it.
Wow, what a baby cycle. I know guys who don't even, they're never going to compete. They do 3-4 times that amount just to look, just to look swole in the gym. But we got to get into your business because you started a very successful supplement company that's still around. It still has your name on it, Betancourt Nutrition. How did that come about? When did you start thinking this is an industry I want to be part of? I want to start my own supplement company.
Well, when I got out of when I was a kid and I used to read the bodybuilding magazines, and I was getting famous through, you know, when they used to showcase bodybuilding in ESPN and all that. Yeah. I've always wondered. Remember, I've always wanted to be a businessman. I've always wondered, how do you make money out of bodybuilding? I didn't know how to make money. Then I found out you don't make money out of bodybuilding competing.
That's right.
So then I was upset. You know, I was really mad. You know, I was like, okay, I wanted these competitions. I didn't make any money. I became famous, but okay, there's no money. Wow, big deal. I was mad. I opened up a gym. I had that for 6-7 years. Oh, wow. But I've always wondered, how do you make money out of bodybuilding? And I would see the magazines, and I would see the supplements, and I would see a bodybuilder picture on a supplement. Yeah. And I was always curious about that. I was like, man, I would like to see my picture in a supplement. And then one day, a bodybuilding company from Florida launched, and they called me to be on their products, and they wanted to pay me to be in their products. I was like 20 years old or something. Yeah, 20 years old. And I told them no, because they wanted to pay me like very little.
Of course.
And that stayed on my mind. I told myself, man, if I'm good enough for them to call me to be in the products, I should be good enough to do this myself one day, right? I even did a Metrics commercial back then that didn't get air for the Olympia, actually. Yeah, but anyhow, I opened up the gym, and I had the gym for like 6-7 years, and from the back of the gym, I started selling my first product. And I picked up a distributor, and I started selling to one distributor, not knowing the industry or the business or anything. And I was selling like 800 bottles, 600 bottles a month here in Florida alone. But I didn't know if that was a good number or not. I didn't care because I had my gym. I couldn't lose my gym to sell this product. And then I met my wife, and I sold my house. You know, I had a house, I had my gym. I sold my house, moved in with her, and not everything, some of the profits from my house, I launched 3 or 4 more products. And from there, I started growing the company. Then I sold the gym because I was burned out from the gym. Yeah. The gym business was wake up at 5, get home at 9. I couldn't do that anymore. I was just completely burned out. Right. And then I changed I forgot the name of the company at the beginning was Betancourt Nutrition. I was embarrassed to use that name because I've always been kind of like, I didn't want to call attention to myself, like just shy, I guess. Yeah. But then my friend Juan was telling me, dude, you need to use your name. You need to use your name. You need to use your name.
Labrada Nutrition, Gaspara Nutrition. Yeah.
And so then I called it Betancourt Nutrition. And then at that time, going back to my graffiti background and drawing and drawing, I knew that I could recreate my name again because like 10 years had passed since I hadn't competed. So my name, my popularity had gone down. But I knew that I could recreate it again. So I created a website and I started putting pictures up and I started creating a demand little by little. So what I did was I created this thing that I was going to get in shape and compete again after 12 years.
That's right.
So what I did was I contacted all the photographers. I got all the magazines and I got their phone numbers. And I called the photographer. I go, this is Jorge Betancourt. I don't know if you remember me. And I'm going to get in shape. I won the Team Nationals 12 years ago. Oh, yeah, I remember you. Yeah. When you get in shape, I'll shoot you. You know, we'll take pictures for the magazine. So I contacted like 12 photographers, and they all told me, yeah, they'll shoot me. Wow. But what I did was genius. I told them, yes, you can shoot me. But I want to keep the pictures for myself, too. You could use the pictures for the magazines, but you got to let me have copies of them too. And that was the trade-off. So that I could use those pictures for my company. Right. Sure enough, they all agreed. Wow. And I ended up with like 10,000. Seriously, I have like 10,000 images, all in CDs. Beautiful pictures from all the photographers. Because remember, before that era, the photographers would never allow you to keep the pictures. The magazine would never allow you to. So now I'm older. They're not going to take advantage of me now. I'm older. Yeah. You want to take my pictures? You're going to profit by putting them in the magazines? Well, you got to do something for me now. Yeah. Come on, let me have a copy of the pictures, man. Come on. And sure enough, that's how all those images that you saw while I had my company, they were all given to me for free, and I was able to use them.
You're gonna make a note of that. So, what made you want to come back and compete? Was it to promote the company, or did you really feel like you had unfinished business, that you really hadn't fulfilled your potential and you still had that dream?
Ron, bodybuilding has always been in my heart, man. I was born with that, man. You know, like I told you, when I saw my father live, you know, when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, but I only had let it go because there was no financial stability in it, man. Yeah. If there was some type of financial stability, insurance, or anything in it, yeah, I would have stayed. Right. So I let go of my passion, man. Now, had I been a little bit older, started a little bit older, and been wiser, I could have probably stuck it through, got in a job, and had 2 careers, my career and bodybuilding. But I didn't know any better. Back then, the magazines would tell you, if you're going to be a bodybuilder, you can't have a job. All you got to do is eat, sleep, and train. Eat, sleep, and train. So that's what I'm reading. Okay, well, I'm going to eat, sleep, and train. Eat, sleep, and train. And I was a young boy, and I didn't know any better. Now, how did the other kids do it? I don't know. They were like, I look at Jake Cutler. He started the same age I did. Yeah. He was able to keep it through. And I'm like, wow, you know, amazing. Who taught him? I don't know. My experience was a little bit different, you know. Yeah,
he had mentors. So a lot of these guys had mentors, people guiding them and helping them along. You know,
I didn't have none of that. I learned everything. I didn't have none of that.
So we'll talk about your comeback shows real quick. So did you do 2003 Nationals? Was the first year of the comeback?
I think 2003. So I was looking really, man. I was looking amazing. I have pictures here. I think I was showing you pictures. And I think you told me slow down, take another year off, and I did. So I took like 2 or 3 years to come back, and then my wife, we were having a baby. My wife gave birth. I think it was like 6 weeks before, and I had never experienced that before, and it just completely. I was super focused for the show, like, but it just completely threw a left wrench at me. Wow. And I didn't sleep for, I think it was 6 weeks. It was just completely. It just completely demolished me. I had
babies wake up like constantly screaming. Yeah, it's horrible.
And Peter Potter calls me. He goes, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I told him I could do anything. I could do anything. I'm Superman. And he starts laughing. He goes, "Are you sure you want to do this, George?" I could do this. And it was the worst mistake of my life.
Yeah. Well, you know, you came back.
I never redeemed myself. Yeah.
The next 2 years you did the USA. I thought you looked great at those shows. In 2004, you were 4th in the middleweights. Garrett Allen won. 2005, you did it again and got 5th. That was the year Phil Heath won the overall.
Yeah.
Jose Raymond won the welters in that show.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember you call. I think we talked on the phone after between like the judging and the finals of one of those USAs, and you were just like you couldn't believe how dried out Garrett was. Because I remember I stole your quote many times. He said he looked like a piece of fucking bacon, bro.
Oh yeah. Look. I know honestly, to me, I felt like crap placing 4th and 5th, right? Yeah. But looking back now, I go, you know what, dude? After 12, 13 years of not competing, dude. I think you know what? What else can you ask for, bro? I mean, no.
I know you're probably not. You're not a bitter person, so you don't think this way. But I look at pictures from those 2 USAs especially, and think there are people turning pro now. I'll leave the masters out, the old guys like me. But there are people turning pro who couldn't come close to that look. You would destroy these people, and they have pro cards. And it goes back to all the guys I've known over the years that were so good. Mendenhall, Edgar Fletcher, Roy Liedemeier. Yeah. These guys would destroy. They would make these guys look like dog shit on stage. And these guys now have pro cards, and someone like you doesn't. It just it bugs me. I don't know how much it bugs you.
Does it bug me? Not really, Ron, because I didn't give it all I had, man. You understand? It's almost like I didn't give it all I had. I gave it all I had for a short period of time. You understand? Had I stick it through, it would have come. So in my heart, nobody could take away from me what I did during those teen years. You understand? Quit or not quit, nobody could take that away. I have the titles. Nobody else does.
Right.
You understand?
Oh, absolutely. But tell me this, so when Classic Physique came around, and you're seeing these guys, did you immediately think, shit, why wasn't this around 10, 15 years ago?
No.
No?
No.
That would have been my reaction.
No, because my life has already, remember, I'm 47 years old. My life has...
You've done okay.
Yes, I've done okay. My body's beat up. So when I think of my body, it's like, dude, I can't lift anymore.
Well, tell me, you were telling me about your back injury. You broke your back.
I broke my back, yes.
So how did that happen?
What year we're in now? 2019. I was saying about maybe 2011, maybe. I had a slip and fall in front of my house, and the step hit my back, my vertebrae, and the other one hit my tailbone. And it hurt like a mother, but but I didn't know that my back was broken. I didn't find out until 8 years later. Wow. So for 8 years, my back was broken, and the pain that will come and go, I thought it was just your common weightlifting pain, because I wouldn't get pain every day. It was like pain that I would get like once every 2 months, once every 3 months. When I would go to the trade shows, my back would hurt and my knees would hurt. So it was more like, damn, this shit hurts. But I thought it was more from weight training, right?
Right.
But then what happened was from year 7 to year 8, then I was waking up every single morning hurting, right? And so I'm going, dude, there has to be something wrong here. The doctor that I was going to would tell me, George, look at you. You look like an animal. You're perfect. You're healthy. And he did a scan, and everything looked healthy, my vertebrae and everything. So, dude, you look like an animal. You look like a pit bull. You're fine. So that's what I want to hear, Yeah. So, but then I started waking up every single day bad. And I'm at the gym one morning, and this guy asked me, he goes, man, George, you really look screwed up. And I'm like, yeah, And he goes, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, dude, my back. I remember the day I told him, I go, man, my back, it feels like it's broken, man. And I feel like I have a broken bone. So I go to a specialist. And they inject me with some liquid.
Some dye.
Yeah, and when I go a week later, the guy looks at me, he goes, your back is broken.
Damn. It's been broken for 8 years.
Yeah, and I go, how can you tell? No. Your back is broken. And I look at it and I go, my back is broken? He goes, yeah. My fucking back is broken? He goes, yeah. So I ask him, how did it break?
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me, George. I don't fucking know.
I fell like 10 years ago. I don't remember.
I don't know. So what do you do now?
Yeah.
He goes, no, I just go in there and I put 4 screws, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm looking at, I have my company. I'm running my company. I look at my wife, and now my face turns white because I have the company, but now I'm thinking, okay, I'm done with weight training now. That's it. My life just paused. I've been lifting all my life, So now I'm a responsible man too. Sometimes I'm unresponsible, but I'm very responsible too when it comes to something. And when it's time to change, it's time to change. So now my face turns white, and I'm going, shit, you're taking away what I've been doing since I'm 14 years old now. So I turn white. I look at my wife, and I'm like, I can't talk anymore, And my wife takes over the conversation.
Wow.
So then I look at the doctor one more time. And I go, have you done this before? Because I can't even comprehend what's going on.
Spinal fusion.
Yeah. He goes, no, I just go in there and I put 4 screws. And I'm like, have you done this before? Yeah, I can do like 3, like 6 of them a week.
Oh, okay.
And then I just stay quiet, and I just start crying, like, not because I was in pain. I just started crying because I knew what was happening. My life was changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so you had the surgery.
I had the surgery, and very, scary, but very successful. 4 months later, I left to Germany for a trade show. I'm doing therapy, and then all hell broke loose. Do you want to get to that part of the story?
Yeah, so you had told me before, physical therapy is how it got hurt again, or worse?
Yeah, so they fused my back, and it was super successful. I started doing therapy with 10 pounds hack squats.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling like something tight on my butt. And I had never experienced that before because the first operation was for a broken bone.
Right.
So now I'm feeling something tight in my butt, and I'm going, man, what is that? But I'm doing the therapy by myself. And I go home. I come back the next week, and I'm doing the hack squats again with 10 pounds. I'm not going any heavier because I remember the tightness on my butt. Yeah. I go down, and I feel a little electricity in my butt. And then another one in my spinal cord go at the same time.
That was your sciatic nerve severing.
And I'm like, what the heck just happened? Wasn't very painful, but I thought in my head that I disconnected the screws. That's the first thing that goes through my head. Yeah. So I leave to the Keys for vacation, and as I'm going up the stairs, I feel a little tingle on my calf. Gloop, 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 gloop. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? The following day, I feel a little tingle on my hamstring. Gloop, 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 gloop. And I go, uh-oh, that's my sciatic nerve. And it just started getting progressively worse and worse and worse. And that's when all hell broke loose, because the sciatic nerve is nothing like anything else. That's no joke. And I had to get operated again. And then again. So I had 3 operations. So I was in the hospital. That one successful operation led to 3 operations, and me being in and out of hospitals for 2 years, on bed for literally 2 years, drugged up.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. Drugged up. Yeah, it was terrible.
So this interview actually happened because you called me out of concern last week for Ronnie Coleman, because you wanted to check up on him and see how he's doing. So you can certainly sympathize with everything Ronnie's going through.
Oh no, absolutely. And and I was asking you, I think I was just telling you that I feel bad because I see the comments on all of this has to do because of the weight training and he killed himself, he's so stupid, and people don't know, man. You could get injured lifting a cup of coffee, it just happens. I mean, look at me, I slip and fall and I broke. I didn't even herniate my disc. I broke my vertebrae, like the bone on my back. I broke my disc when they went to operate me. All my discs were perfect.
Oh wow.
Okay, yeah. So I actually lost 2 discs when they fused my back. They had to take out 2 discs when they fused my back, and that hurt me more than the fuse, because I had taken such good care of my back from the weight training all my life. Yeah. And to take out 2 discs out of my back, it drove me nuts. I'm like, dude, for 30 years I've been taking care of my back, and you're gonna take out 2 discs that I've baby and natured for 30 years to not hurt my back, and now because of a dumb injury of a slip and fall.
So they took 2 discs out of your spine. I thought you really needed your disc, like there were cushions between the vertebrae. What happens when you don't have that cushion, those discs?
Well, that's how they fuse it. They put bone marrow in there, and then so you have 2 vertebrae, right? Yeah. And here's the disc. They take out the disc and they put bone marrow in there, and then little by little that starts growing, and it connects this vertebrae with this one, and it all becomes one.
Okay.
So there's no disc anymore there, and then again they did it on the bottom from when I broke my back.
So how does your back feel now?
It feels perfect, but I would never play with it because I don't want to go to the hospital ever again, because I lost a lot of time with my kids, and it scared the living pants out of me.
So do you still train? Do you train like in different ways now so you don't aggravate that?
My back feels fine. I'm 47 years old. Yeah. I've had a lot of injuries. Yeah. I've been to the hospital a lot for injuries. I'm trying to survive, to be honest with you. I want to stay healthy as long as I can. Business-wise, family-wise, I need to be here for my kids. I still train, obviously. I train 4 days a week. Yeah. I don't miss one. I I miss once every 4 months. One day every,
Okay.
I could go 8 months without missing.
Right.
But that's the discipline that I've always had. I've never quit working out since I was 14 years old. The only time I've ever stopped working out is when I've had injuries that I have to go get operated.
Yeah. So,
but I've never retired from weight training.
I mean, what do you I'm limited too. So what are you limited in with the back situation?
Well, besides the back, I have my knee.
Oh.
So I can't squat like you. I've also had shoulder surgery. So because you have shoulder surgery, you can't do a lot of things for the upper body, Yeah. But the knee, my back is healthy, but the knee doesn't let me squat at all.
Can you do like deadlifts, barbell rows, things like that?
I can do barbell rows, but I won't do it. Ron, I just, I'm so much older now, man, and my wife here hates hearing me complaining.
Every wife does.
Yeah, like, this hurts. It hurts.
Shut up! You did it to yourself.
Yeah. So if I take off my shirt, I'm still in great shape. You're talking. I got to keep this up for the rest of my life, dude. I'm never gonna quit. And like I was telling somebody in the other gym, listen, I've been working out for 34 years, skinny, fat, on drugs, no drugs.
When were you fat?
Single, not single, homeless, with money, no money.
Homeless? What?
I'm always gonna work out. You understand?
Yeah, I didn't know you were ever homeless. I mean,
no, but I'm exaggerating there. Yeah. But it's what I do, man. You understand? Yeah. When people tell me, "Hey, you look skinny," dude, I've been skinny, I've been up, I've been big. It doesn't matter, dude. This is me. This is what I do. Yeah. So this is what we do. The same with you. You've been doing this since we first met. You understand? This is in your blood.
I can't stop. I'm a wreck. Everything hurts.
And it keeps you balanced for work for the rest of the day.
True. Well, we got to talk. We didn't talk enough about your company. I mean, that was
you
built a big company, a very successful company. How long did it take you to build it up to the pinnacle of where it was? And then I got to know, why would you want to sell it after all that?
Okay, so we started the company in 2003 and we sold it in 2000. Here, I wrote it down because I forgot. 2014 we sold it.
Okay.
Why did we sell it? I started the company with me and my wife. We had it for 7 years. When the economy dropped, right? Yeah. I don't know what year that was. Yeah. The banks cut my line of credit that I had. At that point, my manufacturer had gotten a capital investment firm. He had sold a piece of his manufacturing plant to a capital investment firm. That capital investment firm wanted to invest in my company. I did not want to get partners into my company at that time because it was my company. Right. But the guys that I was renting the warehouse from looked at me and they go, "George, are you crazy?" It was a $1 billion company, billion. Yeah. They looked at me and they go, "George, are you crazy? It's better to be 10%, 20%, 30% of something big than to be 100% of something small." Yeah. And I was like, fuck, I didn't even think of that. So we started having these meetings and they just wanted to be part of it, And some of them were my friends, not the higher end people. But the lower ones that wanted to get the deal done, they were my friends and they wanted to do it because I was into the bodybuilding. They knew that I had a name and the whole thing. And dude, they saw how hard I worked. I was, I work. Right. So we had these meetings. They draw up a contract. It takes 6, 8, 9 months to do the contracts. Really thick contract, about that thick. Wow. 200 pages. Then they call me in. That's it, like to do the final stuff. They call me in. And that day I was really stressed out because I had some orders going out. Vitamin Shop had turned down some product or something. Some product was going old on the shelf and I had to eat it. It was like $200,000 in bad product that I had shipped. So I had to take the return back. What does that mean? I had to throw the product away. So we had to literally throw away like $200,000 in product. Yikes. So I was in a really bad mood that day. I needed to be in the warehouse working. These guys call me for a meeting, the final meeting. I drive all the way over there. And they go, George, let's get this deal going. And this really nice man by the name of Dan that I really like a lot. He called me, George, look, I had nothing to do with this, but they want to make you minority. I'm like, what? Minority. I'm like, dude, you fucking call me for like that, because I was mad that day. You fucking make me get off my fucking office and drive all the way over here to tell me that you want to make me minority? Are you out of your mind, dude? I gotta be back in my office working, dude, and you don't understand.
So what does that mean? Like you were going to be like 5% owner of the company or something?
No, like 49%.
Oh, okay, well.
So, but I was so tense that day because I was taking this shipment back that was like 200. You understand? I'm losing $200,000 in the other side.
It was a bad day.
It was a bad day. Yeah. So I go to open the door to leave the meeting, and Dan stands in front of the door and he closes it. He goes, no. We'll work it out. You can't leave. And I no, dude, you don't understand. I need to get back to my warehouse, bro. This is just, don't fucking call me for this stupid shit anymore. He goes, George, don't worry, we'll work it out. And so we were, I don't even know how I told that man no, because I know, honestly, I needed him at that point to become partners with him because the bank had stopped my line of credit because, the banks were closing.
Right, yeah. Everybody was losing their house at that time. It was crazy.
So it wasn't that I was being macho. It was just that I was so tense that day. I needed to be in the warehouse. Yeah. So he goes, George, he tells me, George, just go back to the warehouse. Don't worry. I'm going to sit down with him and talk to them and we'll work it out. And sure enough, we were able to work it out. And we created a great partnership with a multi-million-dollar manufacturing plant but when we created that partnership, so you can understand why we sold it. When we created that partnership, they told me, George, you will have all the money you want, but it's a 5-year plan. In 5 years, we got to grow this bitch and sell it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I literally, at one point, we literally had just my business. We had a $12 million line of credit.
Wow.
Jorge Betancourt. And so my partners, they were creating products for Vitamin Shop, right?
Yeah.
And Vitamin Shop had gone public at that time, and they had raised all this money, capital, and they wanted to buy a manufacturing plant, and they had come to visit my partner's manufacturing plant, and they fell in love with it, and they wanted to buy it, and the 5 years were up. And sometimes I knew that there was going to be an end to my company because that was the agreement. I did not want to sell my company, but that was the agreement. And I know how these companies are. They go up and they go down. They go up and I go, could my company have grown a lot more? Yes, it could have grown a lot more. But towards the end, there was a lot of friction in those offices. And I was already dealing with my back problems. Dan was really managing the company the last year and a half. He's like, George, stay home, take care of your back. And I couldn't deal with the company. I was like, my back was, at that point, my back had become my priority. I needed to walk. Yeah. So I could have cared less to sell the company or not at that point because I needed to walk again. So anyways, Vitamin Shop fell in love with the manufacturing plant and they wanted to buy my company. So we put a package and sold everything for $88 million.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, but I didn't walk away with $88 million. I walked away with,
you got a couple million out of that. Come on now.
Yeah.
I mean, so you had a non-compete agreement. You couldn't start another company for what, 3 years? For 3 years, I couldn't start a company. So, I mean, even now today, it's weird to me, and I'm not Jorge Betancourt, but it's weird to me to see Betancourt Nutrition products, and I know that's not your company anymore. But is it weird to you? Do you walk past that? Yeah, it was very, very, very hard for the first 2 years because I sold my name. You know, I couldn't sell the company any other way. You know, they had to literally wipe you off the earth. You know, if not, they won't buy it. So here's what happened. The reason why I had to sell too, though, it's almost like they corner you because if I wouldn't have sold the company,
and they would have bought the manufacturing plant. At that point, they would have decided, hey, we're not making your products. So now I had to go find another manufacturer that could produce enough product within a month. And that's not going to happen anywhere. So I would have stayed without product for a year and a half. Expenses keep coming in. I would have drowned in debt within 3 months. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't have inventory. If I run out of inventory because they would not produce my products, I would have had to go find another manufacturer. I would have drowned in debt. And that had already happened to me once. And I wasn't going through that again. I wasn't going to go through that again. So I took the opportunity to sell.
So you started that company from the ground, from nothing, built it up successfully. You know the business inside out. Do you have another company in mind? Is there something in the works? You don't have to tell me if it's a big secret, but you can give me a little hint.
Well, look, Ron. Look, honestly, after I broke my back and I had the I had a non-compete. In the beginning, I was all fired up to start another company. Then I went through this whole back thing where I broke my back, and I kind of when I broke my back, my mind kind of, that drive kind of settled because I saw reality. I was in so much pain after those operations. It was 3 operations. Right. I was in bed for 2 years almost. I saw reality, and I kind of lost that drive. I'm kind of getting it again. And then I got scared of business for a while there. Why? Why did I get scared of business? Because financially, I'm already okay financially. Why do I need to risk everything again? But what happens, I don't have to. You understand? I could live for the rest of my life the way that I am right now. Yeah. But what happens is you start getting bored. You understand?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, you're a go-getter. You have a lot of energy. You have drive.
I've never been put in this situation. This is the first time this has ever happened to me. I have never not worked in my life. I've been working since I was, I've been waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning since I was a kid,
You don't golf, right?
Nah.
So, I mean, you got nothing to do then. You play with your kids, you work out, and it's like, shit.
So when I sold the company, I had to reinvest the money into you got to make the money now work for you because you can't leave it on the bank. So I invested all my money into properties. So I got money coming in doing that. I could live off of that for the rest of my life. Yeah. But I have so much time on my hands that sometimes I find myself driving myself crazy. Like, okay, this is just way too much time on my hands. So yes, I am working on something else. But I'll see where it takes me. Okay. I don't need to be the very best at it. If it turns out that in 2 or 3 or 4 years, wow, we're doing great, fine. But I'm not going to lose what I've gained to get up there again. You understand?
Is it connected to this industry in any way, or is it completely?
Absolutely, yes. No, absolutely. Yes. It would be in the health and fitness industry again. Yes, absolutely. I don't need to reinvent the wheel again. Right. I'm not going to go reinvent the wheel. I rather stick to what I know how to do best. So
you spent so much time really learning the supplement business,
absolutely,
and learning how to be successful in that business, that it seemed ridiculous not to go back into that industry.
Yes. But again, like I told you, this industry is not an easy industry. You could be very successful, and it's still not. It's not an easy business. I mean, look at Gaspari. I love Gaspari. As successful as he is, he went through a little hard time there that he literally almost lost everything. And VPX, same thing. Look at EAS. You understand? So these companies go up and down. They didn't sell my company when my company could have grown even more. Yeah. But I was, but still, I was able to escape and sell my company. There's some people that are not able to escape.
Right.
You understand? So if I'm going to do it again, I'm not going to lose what I just gained.
No, you're going to do it. You're going to do it in a very, very cautious way. It sounds like. But
I could think now. Before I couldn't think. Now I could think clearly.
You're not a kid with nothing to lose. You've also got a wife and kids now and everything that.
Absolutely, and I can't drive my wife mad. Look, listen. When I get into these things, I could drive my wife mad, and I can't do that again. I can't do that again.
I should have asked you this at the beginning. Where did you get the nickname Chick?
Chiquitín.
Chickadee, what's that? I don't even know.
Chickadee, short. When I
What a rude nickname.
yeah, when I first moved here to Florida, I was the shortest kid on the block.
Okay.
So they used to call me Chiquitín. I was the oldest and the shortest, and that was one of the reasons why I got into weightlifting too, because I was short.
Yeah.
But like I told you, Ron, and also too, man, I'm proud of you, man. You've been doing. Look, when I see somebody like you've been lifting weights all your life. That to me is real. You're not one of these guys have been in and out of it. You stuck to it. That it's in your blood. So I'm proud of you for.
I'm insane. That's what it is. I'm a little crazy.
Well, I think we all are to some extent, and I think we all need this to keep us a little bit sane.
I couldn't even. I can't start my work day. This is how much of a meathead. You're the same. I can't really focus on my work and stuff until I get my workout out of the way.
The same with me.
And then my head's clear.
The same with me. And I could never be successful at weight training after work. It has to be done in the morning.
Right. We're the same. Lo mismo. Okay. Wow, I've been calling you Cuban all these years. I was completely wrong. I learned something new every damn day.
Well, like I told
you, you are Cuban.
I am Cuban.
You are Cuban. My wife came here in her mother's belly from Havana. As far as I'm concerned, she's Cuban, regardless of where she was from. She was a fetus. She came here as a fetus. All right, man. Well, I've taken up a lot of your time today, George. I appreciate it very much. It's been so good talking to you again. I apologize for not doing this sooner. I've been doing these interviews for almost 2 years now, and I've been thinking every like few months. I think, what about Jorge Betancourt? And then it would just, my mind it would just go out of my mind again. But thank God.
Hey, can you see this or not? No, you can't see that, right?
I see a phone.
Oh, I got it here, right here.
Move it. I'm trying to figure out what it is. I can see it.
Can you see that? It's a picture of me on the floor
deadlifting. It's deadlifting. Okay.
I was 14 years old there.
Oh, that's ridiculous. 14-year-old power lifter.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Let me see if you can see it closer.
Now, do you have any social media websites that people can check out?
Ron, by mistake, I still I have a Facebook page, but I don't post. After I sold my company, when I sold my company, I was playing around with the settings like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I deleted the thing without reading the instructions, and I deleted the whole page.
Oh, dude.
And then I got furious, and I had to start a whole new one, and I started one and never did it again, man. I lost all my following and all that. Now, if I get back into this industry, I got to get back on it. But I tell you what, man, if it wasn't because of business, I wouldn't have a social media page, man, or none of that Instagram, because it's getting so negative, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's only good for business, but to read comments there about anything about, oh my God!
I've read the most horrible things about myself on these comments. Woo.
Well, not even about us. Forget that. I'm talking about in general.
In general, yeah. Just a lot of negativity.
It's.
You really want to get depressed, read YouTube comments on videos. There's people that comment that are just, oh my God, they must be the most miserable human beings. Everything is like, I did a video about Ron, a few videos with Ron, and people were just so mean in the comments. That's what he gets. He deserves all this pain. I'm like, oh, really? Are you serious? This is like the nicest guy in the world. If you ever meet him.
Dude, let me tell you something, dude. That guy is a champ, bro, for doing what he's doing. Yeah. That guy. Dude,
he never complains, never feels sorry for himself.
That's why that guy's a champ.
Smiles, he still keeps.
Had that been me, I'd be complaining every 5 seconds.
Ooh, I'd be fine. I'd be tweeting like every 5 seconds. Wah!
Right. That guy is a beast, man.
Yeah.
That guy's a beast, and I can tell you the amount of pain that man is in is enormous because I've been through it. And when I was on that pain, dude, I was home sitting here crying. Dude, I would sit here crying by myself from the pain and complaining, and the anxiety would drive me crazy from the pain. Mm. It was a miserable. Dude, that guy, straight up, numero uno, man.
Nothing but respect for Ronnie.
Shit.
All right, man, we've been talking a long time, so I'm going to let you go. Everybody, thank you for watching Ronline Report with George Chick Betancourt. Please, if you're not already subscribed to this page, subscribe and do the notification thing, because I want you as a viewer. That's why. So, thanks, George, and we'll talk to you guys later.
All right.